About a month ago, I signed up with a temporary employment agency. You work today, you get paid today. If you're looking for clerical type job, receptionist, janitorial, housekeeping, skilled labor department, if you have experience with heating, ventilation, air conditioning, welding, plumbing, they'll actually test you and set you out on jobs. You have work boots? Sure do. You have safety glasses? I have the side shields that go on my glasses. Do you know how to read a tape measure? As long as it's not metric, I can read a tape measure. This job requires that you can read a tape measure all the way down. He handed me a tape measure and I showed him that I can indeed read a tape measure. I think the job was only supposed to last 2 or 3 days. We wound up going about a week because the boss there at the company was happy with our work ethic, product, and quality. My particular job was going to be in what they call the saw room, an assortment of PVC pipe. My job involved getting the proper diameter PVC pipe, putting it on the saw guide, setting up the block, and measuring the appropriate length and cutting the required quantity based on the cut sheet. Grab the appropriate, the ½ inch, ¾ inch, whatever, load it up, and I'd set the length. The boss came over a couple times to ensure that I do indeed know how to read a tape measure and that I knew how to set everything up. Once I got the appropriate length on several pieces of the PVC pipe, I then would have to take them, and the chop saw that I was using had a blade that would be used for cutting and also for some grinding. After I cut the length, I would take one end and run about a 45-degree beveled edge. In our American history textbook, we had a section called the Industrial Revolution, and I think this horizontal saw, wherever I'm going to put it over here, was actually pictured in that book. It was maybe from the 60s. I was using that to cut some length of angle pieces and some channel pieces. And I'll show you those over here somewhere. I've never seen it made of fiberglass. Measure the appropriate length of this fiberglass angle and channel and loaded it into the bandsaw, cut it to the appropriate length, got all that stuff put together. Another day out there, we've got this pallet of these plastic trays. They were injection molded, kind of wavy on one side. There were these little plastic stems that were sticking out. Those needed to disappear. Get rid of those little tabs. Gave me a pair of snips that I used to trim those off and make them flush. Each stack of trays that I would lay on the table consisted of 100 individual plastic trays, and they were all sort of stuck together. On the underside, we'll say, they have a little peg that sticks out, and there's about 9 of those across, and those go into a corresponding hole that's in the top of the next tray. They're kind of delicate, so you can't just rip the trays apart. There is a trick. I never really was able to master the trick to doing that. Over here, you see me fighting with it, trying to get these things separated. The boss would come over and he would stand there and he would laugh. Here's some footage of how he did it. I would set a stack up there and those things stayed locked in together. He would set the same stack the same way, and it was as though they just started magically separating on their own. Once I got them separated, they had a form already set up on a real high-tech cutter, the paper cutter from elementary school, but they had a guide already set up for the measurement, and you just had to fit it on there and choom, cut off one end. Had to make it good and straight because that was the end that later would be welded together. Get them trimmed to the right size, welded together, and then in about a week they would have enough of everything, and they were going to be assembling those into some sort of a filtration system. It was a fun job. The boss that we were working for at the plant, very patient, no heavy lifting. I had an oscillating fan in the saw room with me, so thank God I didn't have any of that moisture that accumulates, when you get hot. What's that called? Sweat. It was a lot of fun. I've been out on some pretty interesting jobs with this temp agency. I've figured out a way to bring you content and get paid for it. If you want to hear about the job stuff, the day labor stuff, give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, say hi, let me know where you're watching from. I'll see you next time.